Hey guys, what's up? Nico again here. And in this episode of 3D Printed Profits, I have with us Joe. Joe, where are you coming from, man?
I am in Illinois currently, although I am moving to Washington State soon.
Illinois. So Joe comes to us and he also has his own, obviously, his own 3D printing business. And what we're going to do is we're going to go through it. He's going to tell us his story. And all of Joe's links in this video is going to be in the description below if you're on YouTube. And if you're your favorite podcast player, it's in the show notes below. Make sure you guys stay to the very, very end where I give you your own product idea that you can 3D print and sell. So you have your own 3D printing side hustle. And let's get started. Joe, welcome to the show, man.
Thanks for having me.
So tell us more about yourself. What's your background? How'd you get into 3D printing?
So by trade, I'm a mechanical engineer. I've been
That
in
helps.
business. Yeah, exactly. I've probably been in business 20, 25 years. Obviously, as an engineer, I've been experienced with 3D printers forever. My second job, literally, there was two people. That's all they did was print and paint, and that's all they did because it was SLA printers. There was no auto like support. You had to manually go, okay, where does this need support? So that was like their full-time job. And obviously, that a lot of that's changed with software.
So they had to
smarter.
manually add supports.
Yeah, and I remember going there a couple of times, watching them do it. I'm like, wow, that's just so tedious. There's got to be a better way, and obviously, it's evolved over the years. But yeah, so I've been experienced 3D printers forever, and maybe 5-6 years ago, that was right when it's like, okay, printers are finally getting cheap. I need to jump into this.
Okay. So what is it that you got? What is it that you actually sell for your business?
So I am in the pinball hobby, and I know that's a very maybe odd hobby. I think some people look at that like, really, you have commercial games in your house? It's like, yeah, it's one of those hobbies. So it's kind of hard to describe. So basically, maybe it's not so hard. So think of it as the car hobby. Okay, I have a stock car, I have a vet. Well, I want an aftermarket body kit. Well, Chevy's not going to sell it to me, but this guy over here made his own mold, and now I get a body kit. Well, this is kind of the same thing. Pinball people, they don't want their stock machine. They want to dress it up. They want to powder coat it. They want to put toys. They want to put all kinds of stuff to make it their own, especially if it's like a theme they love. They want to like totally deck it out with all this stuff. So this mod community of making parts has kind of evolved. 5 years ago, it was maybe one company actually 3D printing, and maybe two or three other guys that they weren't 3D printing. They were taking existing toys and maybe putting lights in or something. And so they were, it was so early, but now it's like there's probably a dozen companies of people 3D printing stuff.
Dude, that's awesome. So, and how much are you making a month on this business?
I probably net about 1,500 a month, and I say net with strong words because obviously there's the filament cost, power, parts fail, you got to buy new beds, your exterior starts having issues, so you got to account for all that. And
That's what fails and everything, right?
yeah, print fails, you got to reprint it. That's more time and energy. So and the other thing is obviously with PayPal and Venmo reporting to the government, well, now it's like, yeah, I made this much, but I didn't really make that much. So you got to start accounting for a lot of that stuff because you don't want to get taxed and stuff you don't really profit on.
Yeah. Maybe we'll talk about taxes another time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Your face says it all.
Yeah.
So how'd you come up with your business idea? How did it just came to fruition?
So there was one other modder that was making these, they call them LCD displays. So here's kind of background on pinball. You start with EM, which is mechanical. Then it went to score displays. Then it went to alphanumeric displays. Then it went to DMD, which is 128 by 32 dots. Kind of low resolution. There's some images, but not great. Now modern pinball, you got these HD resolution. There's no really need for it. But so all these older machines, like, well, here, I'll show you. This was my first mod, and this is for a Royal Rumble pinball machine. So it's got the DMD display, but people are like, yeah, I would love it if I could just see like wrestlers on this display, and it just sits here in a pinball. I'm like, all right, well, I'll make this. And I've still got huge demand for it. So the funny thing is there was another guy that was making these, I call them LCD mods. And I'm like, well, I don't want to be a jerk and like take over his business. So he was focused on the newer machines. I'm like, well, I'll make them for the older machines so that I'm not stepping on his toes. And ironically, now I make his displays because he doesn't have any 3D printing experience. And he's like, hey, I saw what you're doing. Let's team up. And now I make all his displays, and he sells tons of these. I mean, he's really got a list of I think 150 buyers like waiting for these now. It's getting more popular.
Holy jeez, really?
Yeah. So it's like I don't have to do. I don't have. So here's the thing. This I made, but look at this. This is all this wiring. So I got a Raspberry Pi running HD. I've got LED lights.
Yeah, yeah.
That's all labor for this. I literally just throw in the printer and I do a little painting and then I ship it out and very little labor. So this is like a great way to make money where I'm not like hands on.
Sure. Dude, that's awesome, man.
As opposed to like this, and you're not gonna know what this is. This is for Elvira games. So the thing is, with a lot of games, they use flat plastics. Imagine like plexiglass with art. Well, that's what pinball companies do a lot, just because it's cheap, it's easy. They can make a ton of these. Something like this obviously takes longer. So I made a 3D version of their flat plastic, and so a collector loves the game. They're like, well, I want something that looks like the 3D version of it that's on the back screen. So that I make something like this. It just goes on the existing plastic and makes.
So can you make those for any LCD game?
What do you mean?
Or are those pretty custom? So say there's some random one you find at like a garage sale or like a thrift store. Can you like mod them so you can put those screens on them?
Yeah, there's nothing stopping you. I mean, the actual display runs off of 12 volt. Obviously, the power runs off of 5. I do a little voltage conversion, and basically, as long as you can supply that power through like a power supply, then it just runs while the game's playing.
Dude, that's awesome. And can you make your own? So do you have those LCD screens and on the LEDs and everything? All of those, you have those products with you, inventory on hand. So if someone ordered, you can make them.
No, so I make on demand, and some of the more popular stuff I should probably like ramp up so I have some in stock, but everything's on demand. And in fact, I'm so busy, it's like I can't keep
Gotcha.
up. So it's kind of like, and it's the beauty of 3D printing. It's like, why would I stock it when I could just go print one tomorrow and then I could assemble it?
Right.
Why have it sitting on a shelf?
This is very interesting. This is such a unique product, man.
Yeah.
So how did you get your first clients? Like you figured out I can make this. How did the first dollar come in?
So yeah, so that display was the first one. And what ends up happening, so there's a forum, a message board for pinball. And so what ends up happening, guy buys one, he puts in his machine, and then he starts bragging about it. He's like, hey, look what I got for a machine. And another guy sees like, oh, I want that. Where'd you get that from? They find me, and then I build another one, and then a bunch of people build.
It's so crazy how these things happen. Just word of mouth, huh?
Yeah. And so funny stories, there's a Wonka pinball. And so the thing I decided to make was a little Wonka, and I could send you a link. There's a little Wonka Vader with a little motor with the fan that spins like at the end of the movie. So the game didn't have it in there. I made this, and literally the mod paid for the game. So I sold so many of them that whatever I paid for the game, the mods had paid for it. And then I ended up selling the game for exactly the same price that I bought it for. And that's what's weird about the pinball hobby, is a lot of times you could buy a game, and because prices have gone up so much, you can literally buy the game, sell it for what you paid for. You're basically playing for free, and then you just sell it, and then it's like, well, I didn't have to pay anything, and then I also paid for the game. It's kind of crazy.
Dude, that's pretty intense, man. Wow. So after you got your first clients, things started picking up. What happened next?
So I was making those for a while, and there's this company called Mods, and so their company's interesting because what it is, it's kind of like what you do. It's one person runs a mod company, and they have a bunch of other people that make mods. It could be 3D printing, it could be acrylic, laser burn, whatever. And so all these different people make these mods, and so they put all their products on her one store. And so when somebody buys it, it's drop shipped. So it's not shipping from her. All these different vendors, they ship direct to the customer, unless it's overseas, and it makes more sense for shipping costs that everybody ships it to her and then she ships it to overseas to his customer. So I started getting into that, where obviously I can make other stuff, and I don't have an example of what I sold in her store, but so like there's a Godzilla pinball, and so this is a bridge, and I've optimized this. All this kind of comes apart. This is all printed flat, and then what I do is
you just assemble it.
This just gets solder burned, so this is all a very strong structure now.
Dude, that is so crazy. So what machine do you use?
So I'm all on Ender 5s right now. I think having the Z-axis, the only thing that moves is the better design. If you look at, so like at work, I've got a Stratasys, and it's the same. Obviously, core X, Y, mine's not core X, Y, but it's ZX is the only thing that moves. Everything else is X, Y is this, and I think a bed slinger is just a bad design because with that, speed acceleration, you get that kind of ghosting. I mean, obviously, unless you print slow enough, but really, that's the best design I think as far as printers go.
Ender 5, huh?
Well, I mean, just in general, having only Z moving instead of the bed slinging in an axis.
And that's
I'm not
from a
saying Ender
mechanical
5 is the
engineer, you
best.
guys. So pay attention to this one. Some technical stuff in this one.
Yeah.
So, and so that's the machine you use. How many machines do you have now?
I have 3. They're all Ender 5s, and that's the one thing I don't like having different printers because I like the option of okay, I sliced it. I know whatever printer's open. I don't have to think which one is that. It's
Right.
all the same machine. It's
That's an efficiency question at this
Yeah.
point, right? And what kind of filament do you use?
I try to use PLA plus unless it's a specific color, and that's like whatever Amazon has. I buy a lot from that company GST 3D, which is down in Florida. It's really good pricing. You buy 10 spools, sometimes you get for like $10 a spool, which is really cheap for PLA plus.
Awesome. Man, that's super cool. That's so just it's such a unique business. I'm still trying to like picture these things. We'll check your website out here in a little bit.
And honestly, my website's not up to date at all. A lot of the stuff is other people's stores. I mean, I could send you a link to other stuff.
Sure. So let's go back a little bit here. What struggles did you have when you first started?
I mean, I think it's the same with everybody has, getting the filament to stick. Okay, this thing is jammed. Why is it doing that? And you kind of just think, okay, it's a really simple system. You got an extruder. It's trying to push this film through a Bowden tube. And if there's anything that's trying to prevent it, whether it's the tube crimping or there's a blockage in your hot end, it's just not gonna be able to push that through. So it's for anybody that's like frustrated and they're like ready to throw the printer out the window. It's like it's not really complicated. You just have to figure out what part in that section it's not able to push that filament through.
Dude, gotcha.
But I think bed adhesion is a huge thing, and I've been using PEI sheets forever.
PEI sheets, okay.
I used to go.
And what brand PEI sheets are you using?
I don't remember whichever one's on Amazon. That's pretty common. But I used to do just direct on the bed, and I'd be scraping my prints. And ever since I switched to those flexible beds, huge difference. Just being able to pop those parts off and not having marks on your parts.
Yeah. It's hard to find some for my S4. I'll probably have to get with Tiny Machines. I think they have some for the Chiron for Anycubic. So do you do any is there any other way that the business makes money? Like, do you do design services, anything custom?
I have sold some designs to somebody that I currently work with, and I do that sometimes just because like I know I don't have time to print them, or it's like I know they have their own printers if they need some help. And actually what they've done lately is they've gone to like Fiverr, and let's say they need some like real sculpted thing. They pay like $100. It's totally worth it because they'll make that back in like 4 or 5 prints. Just some guy in another country that's great at 3D modeling. It's like, okay, go for it and give me a model. And
are you the ones that you design, are you designing them yourselves?
Ones I have, yes.
And using what software?
SolidWorks.
SolidWorks. All right.
I started on Pro Engineer, and I switched to SolidWorks probably 17 years ago.
Okay.
But that's one thing I do want to mention. Like, a lot of people are like, well, how do I make money? I want to just print stuff. It's like, you're never going to make money on printing. All of the money is in the design. So if you own the design, that forces your customers to only buy from you. And that's where the money is really made.
Sweet, dude. So you said you have your own website. Is that the only place you're selling your items from, or are you like on Etsy or eBay or anything like that?
Not on Etsy. So the 2 companies I work with are Measle Mods, which right now I took them off because I'm moving. I just don't want people, placing purchases. The other company is called Learn Mods, LERMODS.
So you're working with them. So they buy you sell it to them wholesale, basically.
Yeah, basically.
Okay. And your own website, you don't sell your own stuff from your own website?
I do, but it's just so out of date.
Gotcha. Okay.
But some examples of what I make.
Dude, I mean, still for you to make this much money wholesaling, holy cow.
Yeah.
That's pretty incredible. So what's working today in terms of marketing? What else is bringing in revenue?
I don't really do marketing. I mean,
it sounds like you don't have to.
no, I mean, it's funny. It's just the way the hobby is. It's like, and here's the thing. It's like there's always a new machine coming out. So I think there's 4 or 5 companies currently making machines, and it's slowed down a little bit just because of can't think of the term. People can't get parts, so a lot of this is slowed down. There's a lot of backlog. So like Stern Pinballs is the biggest company. They used to make 3 pinballs machine. I think this year they're only going to release the 1 pinball. So, but it's like this ever going cycle. Okay, here's the next game. What can I make for that? And then you come up with something.
That's so insane, man.
And so like this company I work with, usually they'll end up buying the machine because obviously you got to figure out how it's going to fit the machine. And a lot of times they'll own the machine for a few months and then they'll sell it. And that's just part of the cost of developing something. And like for something like this, a lot of times what I'll do is I'll model it how I think it's going to fit, and I'll send a PDF to the person, tell them to print it 1-to-1, and then just say, okay, put this where I think it's going to fit. And they go, well, it's not quite fitting. Can you make this just a little smaller? I'll just keep tweaking it until it gets right. And sometimes I'll send them just the plastic part, say, okay, does this fit? Yes. All right, now I can assemble the entire thing.
Nice, dude. So, dude, that's it for me. I'm still like, it blows my mind that this is such a unique business that's making this much money. That's pretty solid. So what's next for you, Joe? What's the future for the business?
So I do have a Prusa XL on order. I've always wanted a Core XY machine. I think they'll start shipping in August.
This is like the Cadillac of 3D printers, man.
Yeah, so here's the thing. I own an MK2. I liked it for the first year, and then I had a failure, and it was never the same. And I hated how covered that hot end was. To get anywhere in there, you had to pull all these parts off. They're all 3D printed plastic. It was just a pain. When I saw the XL and it's just bare circuit board and you just pop that hot end, I'm like, I'm in. That's the printer for me. And obviously Core XY doesn't hurt.
I'm surprised you didn't get a CR10S.
No, you know what? I don't think Creality larger printers scale. I think they end up just taking their smaller printers and go, oh, we'll just make it bigger. Well, it doesn't always work that way.
Yeah, that's what happened with the S5, and I was like, nah, I'm gonna send this one back. Dude, that's so cool, man. Great business. Congratulations. I've never seen anyone wholesale to anyone before, and this is fantastic, man. It's $1,500. That's, well, not right now. It's not a mortgage. So let's wrap it up with your number one tip for anyone who wants to start a 3D printing side hustle, man.
I would definitely say niche market is key. I mean, don't go after a market where everybody else is also doing that. You know, you could look at Etsy, see what other people are buying, making, but I mean, you know, my hobby is great. There's only so many people that know how to model stuff, and that's the big thing. That's probably the number one tip I gotta say. Don't just go buy a printer and say, oh, I'm just gonna learn. Think about how are you going to make those models? Are you just downloading a Thingiverse? Don't assume that you can just pick up software. I mean, I think it took me at least 5 years to even get comfortable with modeling in 3D. And obviously with my experience, I can model a lot more stuff than some people can do. But yeah, it's a huge uphill battle learning 3D modeling. So I think even before you buy a printer, figure out how you're going to model stuff. And if you're like, yeah, I could do this, then just say, okay, yeah, now I want a printer.
Awesome. All right, you guys, that's it for Joe. I told you guys, if you stay till the very, very end, I'll give you your own product idea for your own 3D printing side business. And that idea is wheelchair joysticks, those electrical wheelchairs. Look, you guys, you can't get any more niche than that. As Joe said, you got to go in the niche. All you got to do. So those little joystick knobs, they're expensive. And I don't think you can, if you do buy them on Amazon, they're very, very expensive. Now, if you do custom ones where you help the actual person who's sitting in there who has trouble with their grip, you can make one that's custom to their hand, where they have a little thing here, you know, that for the, what do you call that, Joe? Like the actual nozzle, right? Where they can easily move the chair. I've seen those, but they're not mass produced. You can sell those, and you can sell those on Amazon, either Etsy, and have your own website. You guys, those things sell for like $50 for one. And you can easily make those in Blender, Fusion 360, or whatever. So there you have it, you guys. Again, Joe, appreciate you coming on the show. Thank you so much, man. Again, congratulations. And I'll catch you guys in the next episode of 3D Printer Profits. Peace out.